So this is my alternate account for privacy reasons. I am a 35-year-old female, and I live with my 30-year-old boyfriend at his parents' house, paying them rent for us to have 2 rooms to ourselves. We have been together since May 2017, about 7 years and 7 months. To preface this, I am not asking for advice on how to deal with the abuse. That's not a problem. I'm handling it. The issue is, how do I leave without destroying his life? Some of the main characters here, generic or placeholder names, are Mom, Dad, the main boyfriend Carter, in a 7 years and 7 month long relationship, and another boy Lee that I really like who I've been secretly seeing for 3 months. This will be a very long post, but I really need to tell the full story. Some context first. My family is a bunch of narcissistic abusers who have treated me very poorly as long as I can remember. My incredibly narcissistic and psychopathic mother behaved as if constant emotional abuse of me was the most delightful pastime in history. I was frequently underfed and got screamed at if I ate as much as my sisters. Nothing I did was good enough. I was insulted and publicly ridiculed constantly. Everything that went wrong was my fault. I grew up in constant fear, stuck in survival mode at all times. My 4 sisters got showered in love and treated like royalty. They all got help learning to drive, paying for college, university, getting jobs, buying a house. I was denied all this support they got, constantly told I don't deserve it. Worse than denying it to me, it ensured I got none of it. Prior to starting this relationship, I was living alone in a small town of 6,000 people, only 30 miles away from my hometown of about 1,300 people. My mom made it her life's mission to ensure everyone she could knew how awful I was. She started this when I was an infant and never stopped. When I tried getting a job, I found that all potential employers already knew me and didn't want to trust me. I failed college because she forced me to take a medication that made me zone out, disassociate, and lose time, under threat of total disownment if I didn't. I was originally put on it while still a minor, with her lying to my doctors. My dad helped me move into an income-based apartment on disability in that nearby town, where I found the same problem with employers. She had been going to that town 3 times a week since I was a baby. Both of them liked the town, and going often is why we picked it for me. Unrelated to her, my landlord was stealing power. The shared power in my building, the lights, main hall heaters and air conditioner, the water heater and softener, the washer and dryer, and all the outdoor outlets which kept being used to charge electric cars were connected to my electric meter. I got massive bills every month on a fixed income. My every attempt to resolve this got ignored. My landlord denied it. Lawyers wouldn't touch it without me paying up first. My family didn't believe me and ignored it. After 8 years, I was paying almost everything on credit, approaching $20,000 total on 30% annual percentage rate cards. My minimum payments were getting close to my monthly disability check amount. Now to the relationship. I met this boy Carter online after I was getting bullied. He defended me and comforted me. We talked for several months and he developed feelings for me. I started to feel the same. We were making constant calls. He lived in Las Vegas. Carter decided he wanted to visit me, so I agreed. He drove 1,500 miles to see me. We spent a week together and it was great. We started a relationship officially then. We traveled back and forth by plane for many months, with his family paying for my side of it. After fully understanding my dire situation, he and his parents couldn't stand leaving me to face imminent homelessness, so they paid to move me across the country with Carter and his parents. My family disowned me. They do not talk to me, don't check on me, don't respond to my communications, and they'll attack me on social media. I loved him before this was even an idea. I was eager to be with him. So I agreed. I said my goodbyes for all that was worth, and we loaded everything we could into a rented moving truck and left. By this time, with so many years of no work history, Vegas employers were hesitant to trust me, and no college or university would take a chance on me, given how I failed before. I eventually got a steady job in security after 2 years. Now 5+ years later, I'm still at the same job, thriving, highly respected by my workers and bosses. Carter, however, had crippling anxiety and dropped out of college and couldn't hold a job. It was my plan to inspire him with my own stability and continuous therapy to encourage him to get the help he needed while I did what I could to support him. The relationship was amazing for the first couple years. But shortly after I got the job, Carter started changing. He stopped touching me, stopped kissing me, stopped being physically intimate with me at all. He began getting cold. Suddenly, a lot of things I did that were normal became a problem. He started insulting me, subtle and passive-aggressive at first, more blatant as time went on. Eventually, it came to the point nothing I did was good enough. He'd publicly humiliate me in stores by giving constant harsh orders and insulting me over every little thing that didn't fit his constantly shifting standards. Any kind of pleading for him to stop just made him call me out for being too loud and attracting unwanted attention. Oblivious to how people can clearly hear his loud insults and condescending orders, he started interrupting me constantly, assuming he knew what I was going to say, and it was always a worst case, degrading assumption that painted me as either a monster or painfully incompetent. If I tried to correct him, I got screamed at. He started insulting my appearance, my hygiene, and my debts, which I had no choice in. I couldn't go a day without him calling me ugly, disgusting, irresponsible. He would say how my family treated me was my fault, and it was my behavior that made me earn it. He said everything that went wrong in the town I first moved to were all either lies or me being delusional. Gaslighting me on everything became a pastime for him. My past trauma was suddenly something I'm lying about that internet people talked me into just to hurt him. If I started crying, he would just get angrier and angrier, screaming even harder for me to stop crying. He called it manipulative abuse whenever I did cry. He eventually made me so distraught, I attempted self-end, and I spent a week in a psychiatric facility. I was forced to be on good terms with him because only he could get me out, as my family refused and I had no friends. They wouldn't let me leave if no one claimed me. There were occasional minor incidents of violence, a punch here and there, often breaking my glasses or hurting my arm. Then there was one time a year ago, I actually got a full-on beating. Bruises all over my back and bottom, welts on my head. I didn't report it because since I had nowhere to go and no support, it'd mean homelessness. He's not been violent since. He's afraid I will report it, but he's kept up the rest of the verbal abuse. He did start saying that he no longer loved me and wanted me gone, often during tantrums, but he refuses to allow me to leave any other way than going back to my abusive family. I would rather die than go back to them. He knows this. He won't allow me to find a new relationship or just a roommate. I can't handle being homeless. After the beating, I tried using dating apps. I had some promising leads, but I got heavily ghosted when I was honest about my situation. I was terrified of looking for just a roommate. As I was struggling with far massive debt, I couldn't afford my own place, or even splitting rent with a roommate, or trust someone who viewed me as nothing but an ATM. He found out I was trying to date. I expected more violence, but instead I broke down in tears and apologized. He started giving me everything I always wanted and begged me not to leave him. I thought he might have improved and learned his lesson, and I could forgive him. Would it shock you to learn this lasted barely 2 months before he resumed his previous non-stop verbal abuse? Because he did. 7 months ago, his car died, and I bought a new one, in my name, using my excellent credit. My years of hard work paying that debt down got me, and I got a raise that's helping me pay down it and the rest of my debt down fast. I have 2 years left going paycheck to paycheck until it's all gone. About 3 months ago, he finally got a job that he didn't quit. He's getting therapy for his anxiety, but not his abusive tendencies. He is convinced I'm the monster and he's the victim. I've got to endure it every day. Suffering, in fear, my anxiety maxed out. He is continuing to say he doesn't love me anymore and he wants me gone, but only back to my family. He considers me dating to be cheating. He monitors my coming and going with a camera that's supposed to be for porch thieves. If I leave to go to get food or something, he throws a tantrum accusing me of cheating. As no sane person would consider this a valid relationship, and I've been trapped here, unable to leave, for 5 years. And he keeps saying he doesn't love me and wants me gone. I decided to try dating anyway 5 months ago. I met Lee this way. I was super honest in my profile of the situation I was in. He started talking to me and sympathizing with me, as he also had an abusive relationship where he was subjected to violence. He's the kindest, sweetest guy ever. We have so much more in common than me and Carter ever did. I managed to sneak out around the camera a few times. Carter was at work to see Lee, and we hit it off strong. We have so much chemistry. I've definitely fallen in love with Lee and out of love with Carter. I have been 100% honest with Lee. There's nothing about what's going on he doesn't know. He really wants to help me move out and live with him instead. Carter keeps talking about a girl at his work in ways where he obviously has a crush on her, including not wanting her to see me when I drop him off or pick him up. But he's also grilling me about how I am not allowed to date anyone, and I have to go to my family, abandoning my great job. I want to leave peacefully to be with Lee. For several reasons. I want to keep all my stuff, including some irreplaceable heirlooms from my late grandfather. I still love his family, as they saved me from a horrible fate and treated me like their own daughter when my own family disowned me. They have never done me wrong and have faced great hardship lately. Ruining their son would be devastating. I also want Carter to be happy and successful, just not with me. I'm done. I want out. Carter's dad knows about our problems, what Carter has been doing. He knows about Lee and has offered to help me see him, and he wants to help me move out to be with Lee. I need to know if I've been doing this right. Carter seems to be slowly coming around to understand I'm never going back to my family and I'm staying in Vegas. But he's resisting it. Force and assertiveness don't work well on him. I barely got him to accept me locking my phone. He says he doesn't want me in a new relationship here in Vegas because he's afraid me and my new boyfriend would get revenge on him and hurt him for what he's done. I have tried explaining I am not like that. I'd appreciate any advice on how to proceed. I don't want him in trouble. I don't want him arrested. I just want to convince him to let me openly date this guy Lee and work on moving in with him, freeing up Carter to date that girl himself, and peacefully leave after the logistics get sorted. Dealing with the abuse is not an issue. I'm getting all the help I need there from Lee. It's been so hard, so heartbreaking. But Lee is healing me, and I need to be with him to move on. Thanks for reading my messed up life story.